So I want to read this chapter about people again, reading people, chapter 5. The power of nonverbal cues is particularly evident in our relationship with animals. Unless you live in a Pixar movie, non-human species have a limited understanding of human speech. Like hens, though, many animals are sensitive to human gestures and body language. One recent study, for example, found that when trained properly, a wolf can be a decent acquaintance and respond to a human's nonverbal signals. I changed my mind. I've read this part just recently. Let me read a few paragraphs later. A few paragraphs after this. Humans communicate via a rich linguistic system whose development was a defining moment in the evolution of our species, an innovation that remade the character of human society. It's an ability that seems to be unique. In other animals, communication is limited to simple messages, such as identifying themselves or issuing warnings. There is little complex structure. Had hens, for example, been required to answer in complete sentences, the gig would have been up. Even among primates, no species naturally acquires more than a few signals or combines them in anything but a rudimentary manner. The average human, on the other hand, is familiar with tens of thousands of words and can string them together according to complex rules. With hardly any conscious effort and without formal instruction. Scientists don't understand yet how language evolved. Many believe that earlier human species, such as Homo habilis and Homo erectus, possessed primitive language-like or symbolic communication systems. But the development of language as we know it probably didn't occur until modern humans came into the picture. Some say language originated 100,000 years ago, some later. But the need for sophisticated communication certainly became more urgent once behaviorally modern social humans developed 50,000 years ago. We've seen how important social interactions are to our species, and social interactions go hand in hand with the need to communicate. That need is so powerful that even deaf babies develop language-like gesture systems and, if taught sign language, will babble using their hands. Why did humans develop nonverbal communication? One of the first to seriously study the issue was an English fellow, spurred by his interest in the theory of evolution. By his own assessment, he was no genius. He had no great quickness of apprehension or wit, or power to follow a long and purely abstract train of thought. On the many occasions when I share those feelings, I find it encouraging to review those words because that Englishman did okay for himself. His name was Charles Darwin. 13 years after publishing The Origin of Species, Darwin published another radical book, this one called The Expression of the Emotions in Man and Animals. In it, Darwin argued that emotions and the ways they are expressed provide a survival advantage and that they are not unique to humans but occur in many species. Clues to the role of emotions therefore can be found by examining the similarities and differences of nonverbal emotional expression across various species. Dollar definitely has that. If Darwin didn't consider himself brilliant, he did believe he possessed one great intellectual strength, his powers of careful and detailed observation. And indeed, though he was not the first to suggest the universality of emotion and its expression, He spent several decades meticulously studying the physical manifestations of mental states. Wow. He watched his countrymen and he observed foreigners too, looking for cultural similarities and differences. He even studied domestic animals and those in the London Zoo. In this book, Darwin categorized numerous human expressions and gestures of emotion and offered hypotheses about their origin. He noted how lower animals too display intent and emotion through facial expression, posture, and gesture. Darwin speculated that much of our non-verbal goodness. Dollar, stop it. Alright. Come on. Chill. Just chill. You need to chill, okay? This thing's just... Alright. If Darwin didn't consider himself brilliant, he did believe he possessed one great intellectual strength: his powers of careful and deliberate, detailed observation. And indeed, though he was not the first to suggest the universality of emotion and expression, he spent several decades meticulously studying the physical manifestations of mental states. He watched his countrymen and he observed foreigners too, looking for cultural similarities and differences. He even studied domestic animals and those in the London Zoo. In his book, Darwin categorized numerous human expressions and gestures of emotion and offered hypotheses about their origin. He noted how lower animals too displayed intent and emotion through facial expression, posture, and gesture. Darwin speculated that much of our non-verbal communication might be an innate and automatic holdover from earlier phases of our evolution. For example, we can bite affectionately, as do other animals. We also sneer like other primates by flaring our nostrils and baring our teeth. Well, Dollar definitely does that. I didn't know that. I mean, I understand it, but I never experienced it in person. Dollar just bite me affectionately all the time. The smile is another expression we share with lower primates. Suppose you are sitting in some public place and notice someone looking at you. If you return the gaze and the other person smiles, you'll probably feel good about that exchange. But if the other person continues to share without any hint of a smile, you'll probably feel uncomfortable. Where do these instinctual responses come from? In trading the currency of smiles, we are sharing a feeling experienced by many of our primate cousins. In the societies of non-human primates, a direct share is an aggressive signal. It often precedes an attack, and therefore can precipitate one. As a result, if, say, a submissive monkey wants to check out a dominant one, it will bare its teeth as a peace signal. In monkey talk, bared teeth means, pardon my stare. True, I'm looking, but I don't plan to attack, so please don't attack me first. In chimpanzees, the smile can also go the other way. A dominant individual may smile at a submissive one, saying, analogously, don't worry, I'm not going to attack you. So when you pass a stranger in the corridor and that person flashes a brief smile, you are experiencing an exchange with roots deep in our primate heritage. There is even evidence that with chimps as humans, when a smile is exchanged, it can be a sign of friendship. You might think a smile is rather shoddy barometer of true feelings because, after all, anyone can fake one. It's true that we can consciously decide to exhibit a smile or any other expression. by using the muscles in our faces in ways we are practiced at doing. Think about what you do when trying to make a good impression at a cocktail party, even though you are miserable about being there. But our facial expressions are also governed subliminally by muscles over which we have no conscious control. So our real expressions cannot be faked. Sure, anyone can create a posed smile by contracting the zygomatic major muscles, which pull the corners of the mouth up toward the cheekbones. But a genuine smile involves contraction of an additional pair of actors, the ocular muscles, which pull the skin surrounding the eye toward the eyeball, causing an effect that looks like crow's feet but can be very subtle. That was first pointed out by the 19th century French neurologist Duchenne de Boulogne, who was an influence on Darwin and collected a large number of photographs of people smiling. There are two distinct neural pathways for these smile muscles, a voluntary one for the zygomatic major and an involuntary one for the orbicularis oculi. So a smile-seeking photographer might implore us to say cheese, which nudges our mouth into the smile position, but unless you are the kind who actually rejoices when asked to speak the word cheese, the smile won't look genuine. In viewing photographers of the two types of smiles given to him by Duchenne de Boulogne, Darwin remarked that though people could sense the difference, he found it very difficult to consciously pinpoint what the difference was, remarking, "It has often struck me as a curious fact that so many shades of expression are instantly recognized without any conscious process of analysis on our part." No one paid much attention to such issues until recently, but modern studies have shown that, as Darwin observed, even people untrained in smile analysis have a good enough gut feeling to distinguish real smiles from phony ones when they can observe the same individual creating both. Smiles we intuitively recognize as fake are one reason used car salesmen, politicians, and others who smile when they don't mean it are often described as looking sleazy. Actors in the method dramatic tradition try to get around this by training themselves to actually feel the emotion they are supposed to manifest, and many successful politicians are said to be talented at conjuring up genuine feelings of friendliness and empathy when talking to a roomful of strangers. That's why we're so dangerous living in this society. Nothing is real. You can't trust what you see, what you hear, what you smell, even what you touch. You can't trust anything. But you still gotta just trust kindness. Good-hearted people do exist. Alright, time to go up. Thanks for reading with me. Shout out to Leonard Mlodinow for writing this amazing book.